soon as we step on the mic, man, you notice the difference. Heavenly blessed with the melanin, baby, you know that we winning. No time for the long talk, got 120 on the clock. Wednesday 8 through 10, all the bad vibes better stop. Cause you gotta come with that energy. Casual convos, baby, come down and just sit with me. Lil' Coco be spitting that remedy. Casual convos, baby, come down and just sit with me. You better take this shit serious. She dropping knowledge on hitting it's free for the play. Tap in right now if you curious. We got the ham radio going lit every A. We go from people to family to pilots. Stay with me if you got something to say. You know it's important if we go acknowledge. Speak on the business and get out the way. What you gonna say about my mama? She winning, you rockhead.
I got it.
Hey y'all. Hey, welcome to the Casual Convo Show, where we have conversations about topics that are personal and business relationships. We always have the casual convo, so you don't have to have the tough convo. Hey y'all, welcome Boscoe from the Bronx. He back off of our sick and shut-in list. Let's go.
Woo Wednesday.
You know, we had to say special prayers for you last week. Everybody was sick. Like, where you at?
MASH unit. MASH unit.
Okay. I'm glad you're feeling well. Good to see you. Yeah. Welcome back.
I hate I missed last week's topic though. But shout out to Chicago Bears too though. Let them know. Gotta give them a shout out.
Yo was mad. I said, "Oh, you got lucky." I said, "That's why I done with the Lord."
Charles Ford in the building.
Hey, Charles.
What up, C?
Yeah. So, are we going to start with Bosco thoughts?
Yeah. Hey, what I want to talk about something we have that really affects our community, and I'm only going to speak on our community because it'll be just like, well, what about them? It's what about ism? And it's mainly about the Brett Favre, Michael Vick thing, and the problem we have with what about ism is that we take the focus off the real problem, and we bring ourselves into that problem. Okay, we know what Michael Vick did. We know the publicity he got. The same with Ime Udoka. We know, but we need to stop bringing them back into the picture because the focus is Brett Favre and what he did to poor people with welfare. Now, if we're going to bring what we did that we got too much publicity for, we're taking the focus off the real problem. Because people are talking about what Brett Favre did, but no one's talking about the former governor of Mississippi who brought him into the fray. That's where everything started. So we got to hold those two accountable. Because you know how we are seen in the how we're seen in the media. They're gonna always put us out there more. We need to get us out of the media and bring them into the media because as long as we keep dragging ourselves in, they'll never forget. We'll never be forgiven for what we did.
Right.
No matter how minor it is. Brett Favre stole money from welfare recipients. That's where we need to leave it. We don't need to bring Michael Vick from 2007.
I agree.
Michael Vick served his time. Leave him alone. We need to call this governor of Mississippi, bring him into the situation, being he got it all started, and hold them accountable because this affects poor people. Leave Michael Vick alone. As for Ime Udoka, what he did is what he did. He was dead ass. He was wrong. However, in that situation also, you have to hold everyone accountable. People are keep talking Ime Udoka, but they're not talking about Catherine Nemo, whatever her last name is, the wife of the vice president of the Celtics. She let him into her house. Both of them need to be held accountable. He was wrong for doing it, and she was just as wrong because she was a married woman too, and she invited him over. But see, we're so focused on him and Favre, we're forgetting the major players in the thing. The two white people. And this is not a racist thing, but we're letting them off the hook because we're bringing our own people into it. Need to hold everybody accountable. That's all.
I agree. Go off then.
Yeah. Let's get the show
Welcome
started.
back. definitely agree. It's always kind of funny how it's always a scandal involving somebody else when they want to deflect from somebody else.
Right.
I've been peeped that, so I agree. That
Yeah.
was good.
Need to hold them accountable too.
Yeah, I agree. So, how do you feel about tonight? Well, I guess I should start. So tonight we're going to be talking about what what causes broken homes. Now I know like last week in a couple of shows we kind of touched on it like here and there. Like for some reason in the conversation it was like coming up like what was going on, what happened, or um why our homes and our communities seem to be more broken than in other cultures and other communities, right? So I know we kind of touched on the surface level, and a lot of times we tend to do that and see what's on the surface or what's the easiest go to of pointing a finger. So I figure if we dig a little bit deeper, because I think there's some other issues that we need to talk about that needs to come to surface that also contribute to that. Where so we got to hold ourselves accountable as people, as a community, and as one race of people. Um, so I put together a little something.
What up,
I hope it
Lamont?
goes well.
Chief
I'm
Daddy?
not gonna be I'm not gonna be as vocal.
Mhm. It's cool. It's cool. Understand.
So no. I really want to hear. Let me
Yeah.
get to say. Can I say one thing? Because
Yeah.
I
It's your show,
I
so
was
you
like
can you say one thing? It's just your show.
no, because I be looking at the playbacks and I be missing stuff because I be looking at the chat. Hi
Yeah.
Lamont. I look at the chat and I be doing other stuff and then I look at the playback. I'm like, damn, I missed that. So I want to really like focus and really get it because this is something that I really am interested in and I want to hear the different perspectives. I'm curious to see the feedback that we get. I also want to see the comments.
Hmm.
So I really want to take it all in, if that makes sense.
Right. I hear that.
So my question to you is, how do you feel about it?
It's bad, man. It's a lot. It's a lot of factors. We're gonna discuss them, but I think the blame. I think the blame goes on with both sides, and I think the problem we do have is we blame the other. And that's the main thing. I mean, we keep blaming the other. We'll never figure out. Okay, well, what did I do wrong? Because we don't want to take, like you said, accountability. We don't want to take accountability for what we do. And that's where it starts. We have to take accountability. We have to realize that like if I say me, I'm not the man, and I don't have flaws. I have to realize I have flaws, and I think the problem is a lot of people don't realize they have. Well, they realize they have flaws, but they're not gonna address them. They're not gonna admit it because it feels like they're, I guess, bowing down to the other one, giving up that power. And as a man, I know we can be that way. We feel like we're giving up the power. Like, nah, I'm the man. And it's not all about being a man. It's about being a leader. A leader is male or female, and a leader's going to accept responsibility and say, okay, let's make this work. So, in terms of the first situation, slavery mindset. I mean, it depends on what that really means. Um, I think I think we what slavery mindset. I mean, what did you mean by that? So I don't, so I can say, you know,
So when I came up,
mm,
so I know through other shows and like we've had people on who always go to the well, it was set up this way beginning of time during slavery, and we
gotcha.
tend to have this woke persona, which is very good. It's good to know our history, where we came, and where certain things were put in place. I think where I come in, and where I try to look beyond certain things,
Hmm.
and I also look at it. Okay, we know this was put there, but we haven't always been here. And I feel like even during them times, our family structure, our family unit was more unified. It was more intact. It was more, regardless of what happened,
Hmm.
we tended to still make it work and still keep that family dynamic solid. Somewhere along the line that changed. Now I get certain dynamics of substance. abuse, different factors of laws, politics came into play. But I also looked at it like they've always been there, but we've also fought against it somewhere along the line.
Mm.
That narrative that we changed and let the narrative take over into our community. So I look at it like, okay, so where do we look at it like, okay, what, instead of saying and blaming the government as this was it, what happened with us? Because before the home is broken, there are
Mm.
certain factors that cause this to happen. So I really want to get into the breakdown of how the home becomes completely and where we don't mend it. And hopefully towards the end of the show we can come up with some
Yeah,
possible resolutions to give people something to think about.
I got you. It's ironic you said that because that kind of goes back to my opening. I think that's like the whataboutism because we look at it that way. Like, well, this is how it was set up. Yeah, it was set up, but a chain has to be broken. You know, this is not homicide. You got to break those chains. And I think people are stuck in that mindset. Like, well, this is how it was. This is how it was. And I think in today's society, the problem is when people say our parents, they were married 50, 60, 70 years, our grandparents, 50, 60, we say, well, that was then. People love to say that was then. But
Hmm.
those who don't learn from the lessons of the past are bound to repeat them. So we need to
Right.
learn from our lessons from the past so we can repeat those good lessons. But if you don't, you're going to learn from the bad stuff and you're going to keep on doing it. My mother, she wasn't married. But her and her husband, my stepfather, should I say, they stayed in contact for, and, and yeah, I think we got to break that chain, man. And stop thinking, okay, well, that's how it used to be. That's how it used to be. But the way it used to be is why they stayed together so long. What did they do to keep them so long? To keep them together so long through thick and thin? Yes, I'm pretty sure they had abuse and da 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 in there, but there was something that kept them together for 60, 70 years. Look at some of these black couples you look at today, the older ones, 90 years old. They've been together since they were in their 20s, 70 years. Like, man, how did y'all stay together? Because I know I asked one person some time ago. I see these two, they had to be about 70 years old. And I said, yo, man, I want to be just like that. And I said, what kept y'all
Hmm.
together? It said, we just dealt with each other's shit and said, look, this is why that's what they said. We just dealt with each other's shit and we knew we were made for each other. And wasn't nobody else gonna deal with our shit. And I said, that makes sense. He said, yeah. Once you can deal with somebody's shit, you're gonna be okay. And we felt that's all we had to do. And I think with today, no one has time. They don't, for one thing, they don't put in the work to really build anything. Um, they see somebody, yeah, 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 she fine, she's got a big booty, da, 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 and they don't even know the girl, they don't know the woman. And just like the female, oh yeah, he's so fine, da, 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 he got this, da, da, da. But when they get together, this nigga ain't got a job, or he's abusive. Like I posted on my wall before I got put in Facebook jail, how I'll try to talk to these women, and they was like, "Nah, you too corny, da 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 da." But they on their third man, and I'm like, they are everything you wanted me to be, and you're not happy. And I think it's the same way with the women compared to men. Um, the woman grabs the guy grabs this woman because this girl might be nerdish, corny. Then when they get together, they have kids, and the family's just torn apart, and they don't know how to mend the fence because they never took the time. They forgot the lessons of the past, you know.
Right.
And that moves on to the next subject. I'm being
Um, I'm gonna say some other time. I
mhm,
think I just want to add on to that. I do agree people don't take the time to get to know each other, but I think when people are together, and sometimes a contribution to why sometimes it can lead to the broken home is sometimes we let our outside of the home life affect our in the home life, whereas though our time, you can call it time management, you can call it whatever you want, but I think that the more time you spend away from your home, it causes a rift somewhere, because now you don't have much time when you're there. It's pretty much you sleeping, you might be present but you're not there, so you miss those moments, you miss that creating memories, you miss certain things, so it feels like you're still absent, even though, yeah, I might turn the key, but you're technically not there. So I think
Right.
time is important. And I remember like when I was younger, one thing like when mom and daddy was like, around, they made sure the family spent time, whether
Right.
it was on Sundays, whether it was on days. Oh, I ain't saying everybody, I mean, y'all better come past the house, but if you got off
Hmm.
work, you knew if you went to mom and daddy house, somebody else was gonna be there.
Right.
And then they make sure they spend time with everybody as a whole, everybody individually. So it
Hmm.
was like that time. It's like those were the memories that really stick in. Those were where you get your wisdom from. Those are where you get your morals from. Those are where you get your village because that time was there. So I think sometimes um, when you spend time with your immediate family,
Uh,
it also affects a lot of the relationship
yeah.
and how it maneuvers, how it progresses. Because even when it's there, it's like how do you communicate and work on things if you don't spend time? Because it's kind of like I'm here, I'm not here, and so that other person either gets used to you being there or annoyed.
Yeah. I agree. Because I remember coming up the same thing. We we had family time, and I think today, um, and I'm pretty sure it happened, back then too, but it wasn't as prevalent. I think with today, the male and the female and the kids don't spend that family time together. The guy may not even be in the home, and when he does come in the home, he's really to see her. The kids are there; he's gonna spend those time, but he's here to see her. And when he doesn't, and I'm just speaking, some guys don't take the kids away. Like, hey, let's go here. They take them somewhere, but they take them around the stuff that they do. Like, this guy sell dope. Yo, this is my son right here. Rather than say, hey, yo, let's go to the park. Like when I used to
Hmm.
go pick up my take them to the park. Even now, my grandkids, they know I take them out to eat. I'll take them here. Even my 33-year-old, 34 now. When we go out, I take her to eat, and she bring the grandkids, and we have a family time. Even with my son, and me and him go. He got his son or whatever, my grandson. We go eat, blah blah blah. We chop it up. We laugh. We mess with him. I talk about how I used to treat his father, and he be like, yeah, I remember. We laugh about it, and he'll tell his son, yeah, and I'm gonna do the same to you. But it's a joke. We're having that family time. They don't do that now, and the kids are going every which way, and the parents are going every which way. Then you got the broken home there because they're like, okay, there's no rules, no structure, and the kids really, they really don't. They have a parent. They say, yeah, my daddy is my daddy that, my mom is my mom that, but they don't spend time together. The parents are not
Hmm.
teaching them anything. Um, and that goes on stuff like neglect. That's neglect because
Right.
you're not nurturing them. And this is like I said, it's both sides because parents these days want to be like the kids, and the kids are you can't distinguish between the parent and the child these days because they're doing the same. They listen to the same music. They do the same. They have the same habits. But they talk and curse around each other. I
I
curse
agree.
with my mother. My mother would knock my ass out. She would. I wouldn't have no teeth. My wisdom teeth, she just took them out herself. But today, these kids curse in front of their parents. Parents like who? They get high from
Mhm.
their parents. It's all this stuff, and I'm like, God, it's crazy. You know, I don't, it's actually sad, man. Um,
What do you think about this is something I think a lot of people and not until I was like trying to dig deeper and research like how it could go. I didn't really realize this and I had to think about it. And I had to pick a couple of brains. Um Outside people,
mhm,
whether people like you look at them as a mediator, a confidant, I think a lot of times when there's I'm gonna just mix it in a little bit. I think even when we talk about broken homes, we got to talk about dysfunction
mhm,
within the home. And I think a lot of times we don't identify or understand because some people look at dysfunction as always being, arguing, abuse, a whole domestical situation, right?
mhm,
So I think also when you have outside people
Hmm.
that have opinions or that can interject in your relationship, no matter which side or how it comes from, whether it's family, friends,
Hmm.
whoever, it tends to cause something in the home. Because when somebody constantly is in your ear,
Hmm.
at some point you be like, you start to think you see it, right?
Yeah.
And nobody really knows what goes on under that roof. And remember, like back in the day, we had that whole what goes on in this house stays in that house. So
Hmm.
that particular thing made me think, like, damn, this is what they were talking about. And maybe that's another reason how it lasted. I mean,
Hmm.
granted, some things is like, okay, we can't always leave everything in the freaking house, but then you gotta understand where it comes from, right? But a lot of those family units and family structures stay close because they kept it in the family and didn't
Hmm.
bring too many outsiders into it. So I think my question is, do you think outside people, friends, family who have an opinion about what goes on under your roof within a family can contribute to a home becoming broken?
Yeah. Speaking on family first, um, you had some family members who they're not really in their own children's life, or if they are, it's at a like at the bare minimum. It might be anything, but they've never really raised a child, and they try to tell you things, and sometimes they tell you things in front of the child, and the child's like, "Yo," he's thinking like, "Yeah, I like my aunt so and so, uncle so and so said," and it's like it's almost like an undermining thing. Like, well, I'm trying to raise my child. Let's talk in private. If not talking around the child. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like my daughter, well, her kids, my grandkids, she keep it 100. She keep it in house. Anything she do, she keep it in house. She'll hit me up and like, "Yo, what up?" Da, da, da. And I'm like, "Yeah, well, blah blah blah." We communicate, but anything she does, she keep it in house, and and with friends, friends are the worst ones. They're the worst because you know, like speaking on a man's perspective or speaking from a man's perspective, they tend to like, "Yo, let the little nigga do this, let the little nigga do that." And you like, all right. You like, and the kid, the kid gets into that comfort zone where he can be like his father, and
Mm-hmm.
his father out there hustling and cursing and doing whatever, he feel like, and the father's like, yeah, he need to be a man now anyway. He might be 7, 8 years old. He gonna have to find out anyway. Next thing you know, you done corrupted that kid because you listen to those people, and them very ones are not even responsible fathers. They're out there on the hustle, you know, and that's what I see today. When I came up, and I think we talked about that. We had the village raising us.
Mm-hmm.
You just knew shit you just could not do because Miss Whoever or Mister Whoever, they go, you know what? Come in. He's gonna snatch you up, or she's gonna snatch
Right.
you up, and call your mom. Yo, I had to spank your son. I had to spank your daughter. Oh, really? Okay, good. Then when your mother or father got home, you got it again. Cause see, like sitting there, we said this before, but now
I
the
remember
little
them
kid,
days.
yeah.
I stayed
Hey,
punished getting beatings.
look here. If my sister might be watching, you ask her. We had Italians that took care of us when my mother wasn't around, so we knew all the other kids could wild out, but not us. No, hell, they would
Mhm.
come here, boy, come here. So but now you can't do that, and those right there are the positive influences in it, because they're gonna make sure your kid is not acting a fool. But see, you can't do that now because the parent, it's my child, blah 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 blah. But sometimes you might need that person because that person might be the difference between life and death. We don't have that today.
Yeah, and I think it's also like I know I'm probably jumping the gun with this one, but I think when it comes to outside people having a say so what goes on in your home, you
Mm-hmm.
also got to be really careful and also establish boundaries. One thing I like to do is I create my own boundary lines along with my group of friends. Like even if they ask or they like, hey, that now I'll listen, but some
Mm-hmm.
things I don't touch. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I think sometimes it's like, okay, I get this side. She might just be venting,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't know the other piece. or it could be something else. And then sometimes, I mean, shit, you just never know. And
Mhm.
then, because I've seen where, so even for myself, sometimes people can always, they can tell you what to do,
Mhm.
always has something to say, but it's not always the best advice in that given
Right.
time. Sometimes you got to let some things play out. Now, if it's a matter of, okay, life or death, or something detrimental, or something that I'm really, really like knowledgeable of, and I can really maybe just like, hey, maybe try this. But I
Mhm.
think a lot of times, especially when it comes with the man and the woman,
Mhm.
when people try to tell you like about your relationship or what you should be doing in your relationship, what you shouldn't accept, what this person shouldn't do with your kids, what they shouldn't do with you, how they shouldn't treat you, how they shouldn't do this job, how they shouldn't do that job, what they should be doing in here, what she should be doing in here.
Yeah.
I look at now that you got to be really, really careful, because sometimes that can come from a line of envy. It
Right.
can come from jealousy.
Right.
Sometimes some people just be miserable and give the worst advice. And one thing, like as I gotten older, I do try to refrain from that nigga ain't shit. You get what I mean? In my
Yeah.
mind, I might be like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
might not, get, but that's not my place.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like, I think it's a safe space, and I do believe in creating those boundaries. And even sometimes I might tell my friend like, that's not for you. I mean, you don't have a say about that. Let me just work on this. We gonna
Right.
figure this out, because sometimes you'll only get that one person's side, and if they're frustrated when they're telling you, you only gonna get the negative, and 9 times out of 10, that person might be wrong.
Right.
Because there's been times when I've been wrong, but I just was venting, and I'm like, man, fuck this. You know what I mean? But then I'm like, damn. And then it's kind of like you look dumb because you like, I'm still here.
Yeah. Yeah. I like my family will tell you them. I don't even invite people to my house. If just don't show up, call me. If you knock on the door, I won't answer the door because
That's
I've
me.
always been that way. I've always been that way, and they always call me. Even my grandkids. It wasn't until like maybe 2 years ago I allowed them just to show up because they knew the mother said you don't go there unless you call them. She was the mother was the only one I let come by. That's my daughter, But anybody else and my niece, those are the only two I allowed to come to my house, unannounced. Yeah, I hear Lamont.
I was trying not to laugh. I'm trying to be good this week because I tend to go off track, especially when I see them type of comments, and I be feeling bad because I'm like, I be kicking, and
I
I'm like,
tried
it could
to
be a real
also.
serious moment, and you be going in, and I'm like, I'm hearing him, he making a real good point, and then my
Yeah,
periphery will always take you to this side, and
yeah.
then I see something, and I get to smile, and I know people be like,
You know
that
what I
wasn't
noticed?
you.
I see it over there in the chat part. It's not until it pop up on the main screen is why like, dang. I knew where he was going because me and Lamont talk a lot. We talk about he talk like we used to, but
Oh Lord,
we chop it up. So I know where he going with it, and I got to give Lamont props. Cause through thick and thin, he take care of them two girls he got.
I agree.
He rolls with them, man. I
I
watched
agree.
basically almost watched some kids grow to go to college. So I'm proud of him. But
And I'm gonna just, and this is probably gonna go a little bit off. I'm sorry,
you
y'all, but
good?
even okay, Lamar, I'm sorry to put you out there, but I'm about to talk about you, but it's a good thing. So no, because I do feel like I'm about to get cussed out by the women again.
Oh, I get
Yeah.
cursed out by the dudes all the time. So don't worry about it.
Um, I've been on my black woman thing, so I guess I can get a guys this week, right? So I feel like men like Lamont, and I got a friend named Brian, a couple of other guys that I do know, a couple of guys,
Hmm.
great dads, amazing fathers, right?
Hmm.
Um, I even know guys who have their children like full custody, right?
Hmm.
But I feel like lose and we don't appreciate and we don't give the respect to men like that or fathers like that, such as like yourself.
Oh, you about to
Um,
hit it? Yeah, you about to hear it. Yeah, you about to
like
hear it.
we don't appreciate and we don't go up for that enough, right? So it's
Yeah,
kind of like I feel like, and it's sad when I see men do so much and be fathers, stand up fathers, especially, and I'm not gonna lie, to their daughters.
hmm
And when I see women talk trash or belittle them or try to make it seem like that's not enough, I ain't gonna lie. As a person who, as a single parent, um, it makes me feel some type of way because I'm like, but we can switch. You know what I mean? Or you don't know how good you have it. And then I feel like, so I understand where the frustration comes from with men like that, but I also think things like that contribute and trickle into other behaviors. It's almost like, and those would be like the same women who try to shit talk or talk down amongst men.
You know,
And
I'm
it's kind of like you got a good one, and you actually have a good father to your kids, but you don't even say thank you. You know what I mean? Or he's a good man. You'll sit there and you'll trash him. And I see it a lot because you can't get what you want or they not taking care of you, but they go above and beyond for their kids. So I mean that's why like on like Father's Day and stuff like that, I'm not like I hate when people be like, Happy Father's Day. I'm not no fucking dude. Like you know what I mean? I can't take that.
yeah,
You get what I mean? My kids know
yeah.
who I am. They know the role that I played in their life, and that's enough for me. But I'm not going to take that away from the men who deserve it. I have a vagina.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you.
You
I'm,
know,
I'm with you. Yeah,
so
I'm big. I'm big ups with that. Cause see,
you know what I mean.
I think that's the problem with some people. Um, and I'm gonna speak on the women because a lot of guys like, man, you always defending the women. You always defending the women. Yeah, I do get that. And what angers me about it is you got the women who are with black men,
Mm.
just bash black men, bash black men. I'm like, if we are so bad, why are you still dealing with it? Why are you with just bashing this, bashing? Men don't do black men don't do this. Blah, blah, blah. Not all black men. Yes, we do have some knuckleheads in our camp, but not all of us. Yes, it's all of y'all. Then why are you with this black guy? Like I always tell people, I always tell my niece, I tell everybody, I wasn't the greatest parent, but can't none of them say that through all these years into their 30s, I've turned my back on them. I never disappeared on them. Their mothers are the ones that left me for some guy because I wasn't gangster enough, even though I would fight in a minute. Or they outside influences. They got a female friend and hooked them with some guys. All I got it's no I'm not gonna front. I got three baby mamas. I got three. I got six kids.
Oh, you was for the community.
Huh? So what back I was a Rolling Stone back in the day. But you know what? None of those baby mamas can say that I neglected my kids. They went out to the club, met some guy, da 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 da. Each one of them would say that. What's up for my last baby mom? With her. No, that's my heart. Um, but and the kids can't say like my eldest daughter, the one I well, I ain't gonna say that because my young
Oh, there go your friend right there. Falling.
there he is, Chicago Bears in the building. Anyway, we're gonna talk about that another day. What up?
They won
Oh
Sunday, so that's what he worried about.
yeah,
He don't want to talk about that L.
yeah, he better
But
be
you know.
worried. He got the Giants coming up too. You better worry about that one. But I like my eldest daughter. Um, she'll tell you, me and her mother, we fixed it. We fixed everything. But I searched for years till I found her. She was gone. I think she was like a year when her mother just boom. I found her. She was 9 years old. Just like my son, I found him. They all know I went and hunted for. I went to their cities and I hunted around and I found him. My son was in Delray Beach, Florida. I found him and my daughter. So, and the mother still bashed me, bashed me, bashed me, bashed me. I said, I'm not the one that left. I didn't jump up with another woman and take my kids. Not me. And it kills me. And I'm gonna go after some black women. I'm saying some. Y'all need to stop. There are black men out here who will bust their asses for their children. It's not all black men. Because I know some deadbeat ass women right
Mm.
here in the city. Some deadbeat. Just because they have the child doesn't mean they're being a mother. They're just there. I know some deadbeat ass mothers. So stop that. That's part of that division we have that we're gonna try to fix before the end of the show. We gotta cut that shit out. Period. Because our families are broken.
Mhm.
And someone has to take accountability. Take a bit accountability for yourself. Stop putting the blame. You don't get me. I'm about to get on my soapbox. But you wasn't perfect. You know, the man wasn't perfect either.
Okay.
Stop blaming everything.
So,
Let's keep it moving.
so hand radio. That was the point that I was trying to make.
That's
We
true.
go to we go to the government. Um, Granted, certain political things play a part, but
Oh, wait, come
maybe
on.
my mindset, my mind goes a
I
little
need to,
bit deeper.
I might need to call into the show. I might need to come on the show.
I think I
Stop
think
me.
what I want to say to that is I don't want to go to the government, and I'm gonna say this: we come from. I'm trying not to go there. I said I wasn't going to go there tonight, but I'm going to go there just
Yeah,
for
go there.
1.2 seconds.
Go there.
I say that because, granted, yes, there have been policies, there have been laws, there have been things put in place. We come from a stock. We come from a royalty of people
Hmm.
who have gone against those odds and still maintain a solid family unit. So
Hmm.
at some point, blaming the government gets old. The government can come and they can infiltrate our communities with these laws and these policies because we allow it.
We
So
allow it.
that's why I said we want to take this and decipher, um, not pointing a finger at people outside of ourselves because we don't fight for anything. We don't fight unless we want to be seen. We don't fight unless we want clout. We don't fight unless it's want to be some benefit to us.
Hmm.
So I remember, and I come from. That's why I said it's a blessing when you have people um, that went through the struggle,
Hmm.
and you are raised by people who've been through slavery, growing up on slave land, going through civil rights, going through being chained, going through segregation, going through all of those things and still maintain the family structure. It would be easy for them to say the government separated my family. They
Hmm.
didn't stand for that.
Hmm.
They fought for that. They fought for us to be able to do the things that they fought for us to be on this platform like this. Because before this wouldn't have been heard of. So we also got to think, but not only, but you got to understand, back then they didn't have no money.
Come on.
So even to say to have a money first mindset, that's not they. What they did was they was like, we want what we want, and we fighting for our people.
Hmm.
They fought for a purpose, and that purpose was not to let nobody just take everything. So
Hmm.
what they had was their pride. What they had was their foundation. What they had was their family. What they had was their self perseverance. So at some point, we got to get back to that and stop looking at that because honestly, when you get to it, money is the root of all evil. And granted, yes, everybody say the government made women do all of these things. Again, we as women, especially black women, got to take accountability for that.
That's
Because
a
at
fact.
some point, you said, okay, I'm gonna get this. We were stronger together. Look at our kids. So when we talk about a broken home, we talk about the government, and we want to point. And that was my point that I always try to make. And I said I wasn't gonna go there this week. We quick to keep pointing a finger, but we don't point the finger at ourselves.
Amen. And I want to address something Lamont said and Twan because they both child support. My first son, me and the mother were together. We broke up because we just argued. As soon as we broke up, she cursed me out. Time went on. I found somebody else. She put me on child support. Me coming from New York, I didn't know the laws in North Carolina, so I was sending her money. Do 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 do. And I was like I was down here I was always here, driving back and forth, always here, always here. A few years later, I got arrested, and I'm like, yo, it said child support. I'm like, what? I was $7,000 behind because I didn't know I had to pay the state. I said, I've been giving her the money. They said you need to keep the receipts. You got to pay through the state. Didn't even know. Happened again
Mm-hmm.
with my happened again. It happened twice, and I'm like, damn. So that's when I met the child support lady. We met at my job one day, and she told me the whole deal. She said, "Keep this to yourself." And she got
Mm-hmm.
me. She got me hooked up to. I was like, my money went way down. She just went in there and did some stuff. She said, "You good now? You just da 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 da." Um, and with well, Twan said, he's right. We lost our pride in being black. We talk about it. We do a lot of talking on Facebook and everything else. I'm proud, blah 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 blah. Black. We're not proud to be black. We're just proud to let everybody know we're black.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Like, no, you can, black pride is support. I hear men bashing black women constantly. I hear black women bashing black men constantly. I love my black queens, but you got a whole Facebook page of white women, and you talk about how black women don't do this. You got the black women. I'm a queen. I'm a queen. But you sitting there bashing every black man and listening to people like Malika Andrews and uh, that's why I don't like the feminist movement. And people got to remember, a feminist is not just a female. A feminist is also a man. A feminist is someone who supports the the rights of women. I want to get that out there. People think, "Oh, you're a feminist, you're a woman." No, a feminist is a man or woman who supports the no, like, supports women. But I always say, what has feminism done for black women? Nothing. Nothing.
Can I?
Yeah, yeah,
I,
speak out.
kept-
Yeah.
listen, I said, then I said I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna be no, I'm
No,
not
you
even
ain't
going to
supposed
try.
to be. This is look. Hold on a second. What's our thing? Welcome to Coco Casual Coco Convo. We have the conversation about topics that affect the community's personal and business. We always have the casual convo, so you don't have to have the tough convo. You say what you got to say.
No, because I know sometimes it come off like I be being like, no, but I'm
No,
really
you got
not. Okay, so like
behind
this came up. Okay, hear me out. This came up last week, right? And please understand. I understand where everybody coming from. I really
behind.
get it, but men always bring up child support when we come and talk about broken homes. This is my thing. Child support.
Say it. Spit
Okay,
it
let
out.
me just say this. You do have some women that use child support as revenge and as a get back, right? You picked her. That's what I'm gonna say on that, right? But then
Hold
also,
up.
let's
We picked
hold
them, but
on.
we didn't know when we break
No,
up with them. They're gonna take
no,
it out into the revenge
no,
factor.
no. Hold on, hear me out. But okay, you picked her and you did it raw. So you took that chance. That's on you, right? Same way. Hold on. Same way with the females. I gotta take accountability for my who I had kids with too. I'm not saying I hate them. We not beefing or nothing like that. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean. We gotta take accountability for what we do.
Yeah, I hear
So
that.
is it fair? Again, like I said last week, y'all talk you y'all bring up the
Keep
child
on
support. And
talking.
I hate it. I hate when this happens because, and I'm not speaking for. I didn't get child support. Let's be clear. I took care of my kids by myself,
Hey,
literally. So any woman that's taking care of children by themselves,
mhm,
feeding, clothing, providing shelter, daycare,
mhm,
insurance,
mhm,
every freaking thing.
mhm,
I don't care if you buy a pair of tennis shoes. It's not
mhm.
enough. So
Oh yeah, no doubt.
if you was in the same home, you would be doing certain things. So let's talk about that's what gets me back to the broken home. Don't blame them for wanting needing certain things for the benefit of. I'm talking about the cup holders. Hold on, I'm
Mhm,
not talking about the cup holders. I'm not,
mhm.
they got hands for cups. I'm not talking about the ones who do revenge. But it kills me when I hear men. Okay, that's your kid, right? Oh, but as long as you don't got to pay child support and you can do what you can whenever you can, she don't have that choice. And even still, I know women who pay child support, they be fussing, and I say the same thing. That's your baby. You still got
True.
to take care of it.
Right.
That
The thing
baby.
about it is, in North
Yep.
Carolina, it's different. I'm gonna tell you why it's different. In North Carolina, they tell you if you're paying through the state, don't give her nothing. They tell you that.
You're not
And see, when I
fine.
did it, right, I did that. Um, I was paying child support and doing this, and it even got worse. It got worse for me, and they said, "Don't do anything. She's getting this money. She's getting this
No,
money."
I
Yeah.
get that, but I guess my question that I'm asking is, why don't you think a man shouldn't have to?
No,
So is it okay? I'm not talking about you. Hold on. I'm not talking about the guys. I'm not talking about guys like Lamont, like you, or whoever who makes a kid your kid, right? I'm talking about the woman
Mhm.
who is doing everything by herself with
Oh yeah.
no help, and you out here stunting though. You
Oh
want
yeah.
to talk trash to this woman.
He
I'm
deserves
talking
child
about,
support.
but
Yeah.
I find it funny how men are quick. And when I say let's stop using all of these things and hold ourselves accountable for the decisions that we made, you
Mhm.
chose to go up in there, raw dog. You chose to lay down with this person. You knew there was a baby there, and I'm sorry, and I forgive me for saying this.
Mhm.
Nobody should have to tell you to take care of your kid. I shouldn't have to ask you for shit. You
You're
know
right. I
this
mean,
child.
you're right.
So
You're
when
right.
I hear
You're right.
men complain about the child support thing, I'm like, again, I'm not saying for the ones who do or
Right.
whatever, and I say to women
Right.
who pay child support, and the same thing. You can't talk about that because your child still need a place to stay. Your child still
Right.
need to flick the lights on and off. Your child still need clothes. Your child
Right.
still need food. That
Right.
stuff is expensive, and your child still need daycare. You got to keep a job. You got to do all of these things. If this
Right.
man is providing all of those things, yes, you do got to come out a little bit more. You
Right.
just popping up, giving a phone call here and there. I'm sorry, that's not enough.
I agree.
So
You
I
should.
feel strongly about it as a woman who did it on my own. Now that could be kind of biased on my part, and I said I wasn't going to do
Well,
that
see,
this time.
I've been on both sides of the fence. I had kids where I was supposed to get child support, and I was giving child support. Like with me, I was doing my thing, but then I had to pay child support. But
Mhm.
still, my son wasn't getting what he's supposed to get because she was taking the child support, doing her thing. So I had to kick out more money to make sure he got everything he needed. And see, that's what I'm talking about. Now, I co-sign if a person has a child, male or
You
female, and you got that one person who has a child, the other guy got to put in, got or other person got to put it. I'm 100% with that. But like what me and Lamar are talking about, us who are doing our thing, then we got this vindictive woman who puts it on us. Then we have to pay pretty much double what we were paying.
Mhm.
And I'm like, and the money we are paying this individual, it's not going to the child. Cause
Right.
my son wasn't getting nothing, nothing, and I was kicking out like mad dollars, nothing. Even my daughter, it got to the point where my daughter, I called her up. I think she was 15, 16, 14, 15, and I said, "Look, I'm gonna see if I can go to child support and get it
Y'all
mailed to
done
you."
made me cut out my lip gloss.
No, but if I wish she was watching the show, I asked her. I said, "Look, we need to figure out where I can go to child support and get the money sent directly to you because she
Mhm.
wasn't getting a dime. She was getting I think it was like 360 every week. I was paying 360 every 2 weeks. She wasn't getting a dime.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
that's those
I
are
agree.
the
I
type.
agree with that. I definitely do agree with that. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah,
I just find it baffling
yeah,
when
but
we talk about the destruction of
mhm,
our homes, our families. The first thing that's brought up is child support. But with that being the case, the one thing that we had when we was coming up and when we come from, we talk about our ancestors, we talk about our older family members, the
mhm.
family structure, the one thing they had was marriage.
But you know what? On the flip about that, when I got custody of my kids, they would not. I didn't get no child support.
can I say
Not a
something?
dime. Not a dime. Not a dime. In fact, they didn't even believe I had my kids. They came and picked me up
Mhm.
and tried to give me 30 days. I said, look, I got my children. They didn't believe me. The
Can I
whole
say something?
time from age 8 to 16, 17, I
Rich
never
about to
got.
go in.
Yeah, hold on.
Let me
Yeah,
get
I'm
my
gonna
water.
no,
Nah,
Rich, I'm gonna
nah,
tell you this.
nah.
I
Let me get
never,
my water. Hold on.
I never got a dime for
I'm
child
just gonna
support.
say, like, when we talking about this whole child support thing, it's kind of tricky because it's a whole system set up to oppress the black man. It's not
Right.
that he shouldn't be taking care of his child. He's not supposed to be taking care of his responsibility. But at the end of the day, like in some cases, not all cases, a lot of times a guy's put on child support because of, bitter past or something stupid that could have been fixed with a simple conversation. I can't tell somebody how to feel, but in all actuality, when you really think about it, child support set up like this. So if a woman goes say, "Hey, I want to put him on child support," right? She can file in January. So that she filed in January, that doesn't mean he's officially on child support. You still got to go to court, and they gotta the judge has to say you supposed to pay this amount of child support every month. And so say that doesn't happen until December of that year. So this goes back to what Boscoe was saying. It's like now he has back child support from January. Now you got guys that's been incarcerated that went to jail because they couldn't pay back child support. It's not because he couldn't pay child support. It's because that January to December, however much how much they add and calculate to what he owes.
Are we talking about somebody that take care of their kids, or we talking about somebody who don't?
Me.
But I'm gonna let you finish, but then I'm gonna add into that because, like we said, it's a case by case basis, and in some cases that's not the case.
Let me finish. So from January to December, now at the court level, the judge is like, "Oh, you owe $600 a month in child support based on your income." So that $600 is calculated in 12 months span. So now he's starting out paying that $600 and owing like $5,000. But then once you get to a certain level of child support, they can lock you up based off of that. So they already got you. You already get got because then what the mother's gonna do? Then at that point, what is a mother gonna do when the father's in jail? Now you're not getting no child support,
and they
so
still
everybody lose.
Can I say something? And it's gonna sound real fucked up, but I'm gonna say it anyway. You shouldn't have skeeted in her.
Well, how would you know?
Hold on.
If you're being a parent,
we talking about broken homes, right? So we quick to lay down with stuff. We quick to do things unprotected. That's a chance that you willing to take. It ain't who fault. And this the same way with women. It ain't her fault that she got a no good ass nigga. I'm not y'all coming from a perspective of men who take care of their children, of men who are stand up guys, right?
Okay.
So you gotta hold on, but I'm saying the same way.
Give me child support.
No, but I'm just saying. But that's a chance that we take. But we also got to understand we're doing these things. We're talking about homes. We're talking about family structure. We're doing these things out of wedlock. We're doing these things out of a certain dynamic. So if you sitting up here and you go up in somebody raw and you decide you're going to skeet all up in it, that's a chance you take that this chick might be a little bit insane. So now we go back to accountability, but we quit. Oh, this the system. But you wasn't worried about the system when you was hitting it.
But how do we fix that?
Be careful strap up. Be careful who you doing. My thing is okay. So I look at it like this, and the reason why I said that when we look at I knew I was gonna get myself in trouble.
Let me explain.
410-598-4242.
The person I'm talking about, I'm gonna tell you, she was a great person before I met her, and after. She didn't get that way until we finally broke apart. Everything was glorious until the day we broke up.
I'm gonna tell you something. Like all my kids are by the same person, right?
Oh, come on, there,
I'm not gonna lie. Did I try to? I did attempt to get child support, but some things happened. I'm not gonna say what because we're not in that place no more. I'm grown. I'm older now. I forgive, but it wasn't on me. But it didn't go through. I do know in some cases where the woman didn't get back child support. You have some women. It's hard, right? So I look at it like this. After I had my children, the one thing I said, like when I had my youngest son, my biggest thing was I had to reevaluate myself. I did all of these things, and I get it. It could be all cute, and they doing all of these things. We ignore signs. I get it. But the one thing I promised myself, I would never have another child without being a wife or without being having a ring on my finger. Why? Because I knew how important and how different things could have been if I would have had this foundation. And that was the one thing that my grandmother was trying to teach me
Mhm.
when I was younger. You get what I mean? But I didn't get it. I didn't listen. So when we talk about how do we fix this and how do we hold ourselves accountable, and why I said I wanted to dig a little deep, I had a feeling. I said, watch, somebody gonna go to the government. Somebody gonna do this, and I don't want to make this about child support because we did that last week. But I really want to dig into the broken home situation. So if this is where we're going to go, it brings me back to my point of we refuse to look at ourselves
Right.
and hold ourselves accountable for the destruction of us, because this is ain't doing nothing but taking us right back to us against us.
True.
So we got to make some different decisions on how we do shit. I'm sorry, hi Lamont.
But see, that's what.
I just have to make a comment, and I want you to get back.
Keep
Come
going
on
there.
in. Come on, Lamont, because I ain't got Mike Taylor, so I need you.
I think Idris, he mentioned it as I was trying to call in. This is part of the broken home structure, but what you're referring to, and I think there's a segment of men that, like, this stuff could happen post marriage. I mean, you could have been dating someone for how many years, and you guys get married. I know it because I was in a child support system for 18 years. You have no, if you've been paying on your own, keeping your own records, you don't get record for that. But literally, a woman could take a good guy down there that wants to take care of his children outside of court, when he doesn't have a say so as to whether he wants to go that route, have somebody digging in his check on a garnishment, or if he wants to give it to her on time every 2 weeks. So when we talk about broken homes, just saying don't speak her, I just that's to me, that's putting the onus on how can you control an emotional response. That woman could have been one way 6 years ago. And if she's treating the father like you're just a financial donor and we don't have to respect you as a father, that contributes to broken home. Because a lot of men are starting sellers. They don't feel significant. And, they get their children up and take them back home. She has to also make them feel a part of it, not like we're not together. So maybe you can address that, because you're talking about broken homes. If the relationship didn't work, we still supposed to be able to cooperate with one another for the betterment of that child.
Right, I agree. Co-parenting was coming. Listen, Lamont, don't go nowhere because co-parenting was coming up, but somebody, the voice of ham radio wanted to bring up child support again, and then we got sidetracked because I did have co-parenting and the whole after thing on my list. Did I know Boscoe?
Yes, sir.
But
Well,
for some reason, the men's, and I was with y'all, and I was doing really, really good this week until that shit came out.
but my thing is this. Okay, explain my situation. I got my kids. I couldn't get child support, and a lot of men who try to get child support, they can't get it. The people just don't. Hey, there she is, the voice of reason. But
Sure, my side of this.
not not if I compliment her like, Judy, you know how good you look, and you know that. No, but I couldn't get child support. They wouldn't give it to me. They didn't believe I had
Thank
my
you,
kid.
Lamont, for telling them.
They wouldn't believe, and even that child support worker, she said the system is not built for men. She told me the system is not built for men.
It's not. I mean, most states are women's states. I'm 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 not safe from that. But what was mentioned last week was, well, if she asks, she might get it. If she asks, my response was, why the hell do I gotta ask you
Well, I
when
agree.
like certain stuff, it's just a thing. I
Right,
don't agree with and honestly and truthfully, I'm gonna be real. I didn't pursue certain things afterwards because I got in the mindset of, why do I need these people to tell this man to take care of their kids, take care of his kids, right? And then I was like, okay, yeah, I struggled and I battled with my family
let's
for a
go to the
long
break.
time.
Let's go to the break.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you straight?
I
We'll be
finished
back.
that.
Y'all. It's getting hot. We'll be back. back. We're back. Welcome back to the Casual Convo Show, where we have conversations about topics that affect the community, personal, and business relationships. We always have the casual convo, so you don't have to have the tough convo. And we are having a hot one right now. Back to my host, Coco in the building. She was going
I
on.
can say
And we
everybody
ain't
else. I
done
don't
yet.
care. Hey, y'all.
You know I got your back.
No, I don't give a damn. Listen, Linda.
I'm the co-host.
Listen. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Let me. Shit, I done fucked up. Wait a minute. Let me you go ahead and put my lip back on. Y'all had me weighing out my damn lip gloss.
I'm just the co-host.
Listen, Linda. Listen.
Yo.
I don't care. But look, I was good. Tell the truth, I was going really, really good until that shit came out.
You straight.
I
I
was
mean,
going.
see, that's
No,
that's
listen.
the,
Okay. Hear me out. Like I was saying before the break, because I'm gonna just because we gonna piggyback a little teeny bit. I am not.
look. If we
I
don't
am
have
not against.
conversations like this, we can never get things fixed. So you got to say what you got to say because people got to hear it. We can't just
No,
have a positive
but
perspective from one person. We got to, you got to keep
I
it 100.
wasn't going because I've been going on my rants though for a
Rant.
couple of weeks now,
It don't.
and I said I wasn't. No, last week I went off. I went on a rant. So I was. You missed it. But what I was trying to say was I really wasn't trying to go there because I really wanted to have a real conversation about accountability for us, and I didn't want to go there. But and that was my whole point of why I said, okay, we quick to be like the government, but there are so many things broken in
Right.
our community amongst us. That's what I wanted to get to. Now, Lamont said, "You gonna put me on child support?" If Lamont was my baby father, no, I wouldn't. And I'm gonna say that I wouldn't because I see how he is with his girls.
Right.
Right? I've had conversations with Lamont, and I respect him not only as a man, but I respect him as a father.
Yeah.
Right? And I see how much them girls love him and appreciate him. And a lot of times, it may not seem that way, but it's always different. I think with girls and women, or especially women who are approachable
Hmm.
and who are also mother figures. And when you have as a woman, like I said, and I could be coming from a biased standpoint, and I didn't want to do that because I think sometimes my rebuttals and my commentary on certain things does come from sometimes from a personal place, but it's also coming from a place of also what I see. And I think a lot of times my career also affects my decision making because I see it. But I also think, but I also see the other side, and that's why I do understand where a lot of men come from. But in a lot of cases, more often than not, and that's why I said a lot of times you guys do get overshadowed by the ones that don't, or the ones that have a problem who don't feel like they okay, yeah, I picked up the phone, I called, or I did this and I did that. So why I gotta do this extra? But if you were in a home, what would you be doing? So which leads me back to the whole broken home thing. And even though after whatever the situation happened, well, when I went for child support, like let's just say it was some things that took me through a lot. I got tired and I was like, you know what? It was costing me more money
Right.
because I was having to take off. And I was just like at the beginning of my career in healthcare, going through certain things. And I think a lot of times when you got to take off work, you got to do this, we lose money too. And that's money that we can't get back. But I also see when they be like, okay, I went rich boy back there. And I think we also got to be mindful. A lot of us in this chat, a lot of us listening, a lot of people watching are in different states. And you're right, different states, different measures. But I also see, well, a lot of women don't get back child support. It starts from the day that it was there, when you guys went
Yeah.
in a lot of cases. So, and I think a lot of times it depends on who you get. Some people do side with whoever. Do I think all the laws are fair? No, I don't. But then again, I had to also look at myself. Was like, listen, this who you chose. You get what I mean? At that time, we was loving on each other. We was doing all of these things. It felt right. It was right. Okay, boom. This is what it is. So now we got to deal with the consequences. So I went through a lot with my family about you better do this, you need to take them down, you need to do. I'm not gonna keep taking off to do all of this for this person not to show up or get somebody to act like they me. I'm not don't listen. You get what I'm saying? Like it's other factors that go into it. So sometimes we gotta make a decision and it's not for ourselves. It's for the I think what we missing is the benefit of the child.
I agree.
Which leads us into this second half. I'm not gonna go off no more. I'm not gonna do no rants. I'm gonna go back to what
No,
I was doing in
you
the.
need to say
I
what you
was
got to say because
no, I was doing so good though.
nah, but see, sometimes you have to do you got to do your thing. I mean, you
Yeah,
gotta
but
because see the emotion is what people see, and that's the passion. So nah, I wouldn't. I want you to go. We used to say break. I want you to go off. You know what I mean? Nah, I ain't got a problem. I'm cool with you flipping like that. You know what I
I
mean?
don't like flipping because I'm gonna look on the playback. I'll be like,
Nah, but see, people want to now. What people want to see you. People want to see you show that emotion. Rather than being, let's see, let's plant the flowers, let's soften the cotton. Nah, bring that. Forget that. Bring that.
I didn't want to do that tonight. I really wanted to come from a place of um honestly and truthfully.
Yeah.
I really wanted to get to, and that's why I said, and if you, I'm probably breaking a wall or something like that. I don't know. But when the show was structured, I didn't want to go there. I really wanted to stick to the community,
Yeah.
what happens in our homes, where we cause the rift, because there's certain things that happen before that.
Right.
And I think that's the piece. Sometimes you gotta get to the root of the issues before you can come up with methods of resolve, or maybe how can we do something better. And it could be something that somebody can take for this and going into their next situation. I don't know if you're trying to have children or whatever. And the next time you link up with somebody, you might be like, I don't even know her like that. So let me maybe like strap up, pull out, do whatever you gotta
Right.
do before
Right.
you make that decision because you don't want to have this conversation of where as though you can't. And then another issue that was brought up, which was also we wanted to talk about was what happens after the point of let's say a divorce or a breakup, you know, and it doesn't work. How do you co-parent? How do you communicate? And I get a lot of people getting their feelings because of whatever happened with the relationship or whatever happened in the home, whether it was feeling neglect, whatever it was feeling like no communication was there. And I think sometimes that communication piece, which I talk about a lot because where I held myself accountable was I wasn't always a communicator. So I knew in a lot of my relationships that was my problem. I would keep certain things and act like it was okay, and a lot of things weren't okay. So then when it ended, I was like, you know what I mean? And I just wanted to be done and be over. And then it was like kind of like, but we don't realize sometimes, even as a woman, and I always say women are emotional, men are logical. We base our decision making off of how we feel. And mostly 9 times out of 10, I'm not gonna say all men, but most men, they don't base decisions off of how they feel. It's the logic of the situation. But I can't say that now because I do see a lot of times a lot of men are emotional as well, which I think a lot of times we women forget that men have feelings. We often forget that men experience and go through their own processes as well, and we also got to respect that. But I think there comes a point in time where that communication has to be that gap has to happen because the most important person or people that are affected by that rift, that breakup, or whatever happens, or that home being broken is the children.
Right. The children are always affected in the end. I don't care what anyone's. The children are always affected because see, um, if you got a good home and you're treating the kids well, but you two are not getting along, people think kids don't. No matter how young kids are, kids notice that stuff. Kids are smart as shit.
Hmm.
And if the house is already dysfunctional, um, they're gonna see it and they're gonna go out there in the yard. Well, when I say the yard, that's Jamaican. So when I say the yard, I mean out in the community and do their thing. They're like, oh shoot, my parents don't care. They in the house fighting. They always fighting. Blah 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 blah. I don't care. I can go out to stay out to 11 12 o'clock at night. Da, 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 da. You know what I mean? Um, and I think that goes back to being neglect because see, a lot of us, we think about us. We're not thinking
Mhm.
about the kids. Okay, now we do this. What about the kids? I ain't worried about that right now. But you have to worry about that right now because the kids are watching. The kids are listening. No, they're not. Yes, they are. They hear you.
Mhm.
Cause I can remember arguments going back to maybe I'm 58 now, maybe 3 years old. I can still remember shit. I can remember one back to I'm 2 years old. Between my two uncles. So kids kids catch on quick. You may not understand it back then, but as you get older, you're like, oh, okay, that's what's going on. And getting
Let
back to
me
the
ask you.
yeah,
Let me ask you a question.
yeah.
So, bring me baby for hand radio caused that whole situation. Speaking of hand, the voice of hand radio, you always gotta do something and make it go left. I'm just gonna call that part out. Thank you. Um, but do you think what I wanted to touch on before I get into the other piece is I think a lot of when we talk about what causes broken homes is we a lot of dysfunction within our families, within our things, and I think we don't acknowledge it or we don't understand it or we don't. A lot of times, again, look at dysfunction as oh they argue all the time, they fight all the time, and dysfunction can vary, and it's not just that. Um, Sometimes it can come from like we said, like the neglect piece and all of those things, lack of communication, lack of expression, lack of time,
Hmm.
and all of those things. So no matter, and a lot of times we think, oh, the kids they don't know, or they think when you think children are so young, they don't understand. But one thing that I've learned over the years, and as I, you know, became older and a little wiser, no
Hmm.
matter how the age of the child can feel, the child can see, they know something's off. Now, the comprehension of really piecing everything together of what's wrong may not be there, but something is off. And I think a lot of times we don't understand how it affects our kids.
Hmm.
So I think sometimes we got to take a step back. And I don't want to say anything about the government. These are things that we cause.
Hmm.
And a lot of times that rift we cause, and the reason why I said sometimes, and I said it does sound ignorant when you just say it, but at the same time I feel like it also makes sense when I say we chose these people to lay down with, we chose these people to have children with, because at the end of the day, being sexually active, having sex, making a decision to go that route is mutual 9 times out of 10. That's a choice that you made. With our choices come consequences, and with our choice come certain things that happen. And part of that is making a child. Part of sex is reproduction.
Hmm.
Let's just keep it a buck. Yeah, it feels nice. It's great. It's all that good stuff. But at the
Oh.
end of the day, biologically, it's about reproducing.
Hmm.
So this is who you chose to reproduce. And then now it's like, okay, you hate their guts, but okay, now what's the next step? So I think when we talk about communication, also those things have to be put in part. But we also, for some way, in our culture, we've gotten away from family, and that's why I brought in the marriage piece, the whole piece of having a family unit. We don't even think about having kids as being a family unit nowadays. It's I want a baby, I want a baby, I want a baby. But we also miss the piece of I want a family and what that family looks like.
I'm glad you said that because we had maybe 4 shows ago. I forgot her name. She's on the show with us. Um, Tanya I can't remember her name. I had said that
Here,
we Tierra. I had made a comment saying we don't think about anything. We just play house. And everyone's
Mhm.
like, "Oh yeah, I'm cool. I'm playing house." And then what I was trying to explain is, when you play house, there's never a married couple. We just decide to be mommy and daddy, and whoever's the youngest one is the baby. But we don't think about marriage. We're just playing
Mhm.
house. We're not thinking about emotions. We're not thinking about we're not thinking about nothing. We're just playing house. And see, that's what I was getting at, but no one caught what I was saying. We're just playing house. And that's the problem. We get with somebody, and like you said, we pick this person, we have kids by them, but we have no intentions in getting married in the end. We're just like, yeah, yeah, we got a kid together. Y'all get no, we no, no, no. Then when we break up, it's a whole bunch of nonsense. And
Mhm.
that's why I say we're playing house. And with communication, the problem with that is we think about ourselves. We're not thinking about, okay, what's she thinking? Or what's he thinking? We're thinking like, well, you got to make sure I'm feeling better. We both say that. And
Mhm.
that's keeping us still east and west
Divided.
rather than central. And that's where the communication break down. And then we can't get our way. That's where no communication happen. Well, forget you. Then we get to calling each other bitches and niggas and forget you hoe and all this other stuff. Then they're the kids watching like, man, they
Yep.
always arguing. They go out and tell
And
their
it
friends,
becomes a
look, look, look.
cycle.
Yeah,
And then it becomes a cycle. Um, but also one thing I think I would I want to slightly give credit to a generation. I think where we have dropped the ball on family, I see a lot of younger people and actually a lot of young guys who maybe didn't have dads or didn't come from that two parent household. Um, a lot of times you'll hear them say, "I'm just trying to make it work for the kid." You get what I mean? Because they
where,
understand it. Hear me
where?
out. I'm good. Okay, so
I can't, not
I'm on
here.
this.
I'm listening,
No,
but
honestly,
I
I
want to
see
know
it.
where.
I see it with mine, with my children. But also when I used to do perinatal for like 5 years.
Yeah,
When I did ambulatory care. So part of that was I coordinated pregnancies
yeah,
and I held like groups for like mothers and the dads were welcome to come. What I did notice was I did have an increase of fathers, and they
yeah,
were young,
yeah.
that would come and they were more invested in these groups and what was getting the information given than the women.
Power to them.
So I say that to say this, and I do see even in Baltimore, I see. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't say it like that. Baltimore.
Baltimore,
I see a lot of
Baltimore.
young guys with their children. Um,
More power to them.
I even though I might see little arguments going on, but I do see that time, and that's something that them kids gonna always remember. And I do think even though it may seem they might not be the perfect parent, but there's no rule book, there's no handbook on how to be a parent.
Right,
There's no
it won't work.
handbook on how to make this happen. So I say that to say to everyone, I'm not saying that I disagree with how guys feel, and it's kind of like, yeah, I get it. I get systems put in place. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to the structure of making it work, I think also what also comes into play is even if it doesn't work, how do you effectively co-parent? And I think that's the conversation that a lot of people don't have is
Mhm.
if this don't work, how can we be amicable enough to come up with a plan ways or this out because a lot of times some people stay together and that home is still technically broken inside of the home because when you stay in something like I'm gonna make it work, I'm gonna make it work, I'm gonna make it work, and you thinking you staying for the kid, if y'all two not on the same page and it's a rift, that home is broken in the inside.
How
Them
old is
children
your
can
oldest child?
my oldest is 26.
What? Well, yeah, well, I think we kind of got a mixed generation. I mean, because see, my oldest is 34. I mean,
Mhm.
36. Well, he'll be 36, and he has, older than my daughter has an 18-year-old son. So my next generation down would be kind of like your generation with minus a few years. So I'll take that back because my daughter's generation really handles their business. But the younger ones, like the 20s, it might happen there, but these boys here, even the girls say that. These boys here, and I'm gonna make some people mad, but I don't care. These boys here, and I call them boys because the girls call them boys, they had babies and they want to be girls themselves. They act like girls themselves. They want to be treated like girls themselves. They mess with other boys. They won't have nothing to do with the child. And if they do, um, the child interacts like they do.
Mm.
Yeah. And the saddest part is the mothers condone it. I'm talking like 20, 21, 19. The mother condones it. The mother condones it. Now, if the mother is
See,
trying to
you
with the
went somewhere
guy,
I might be going through.
if the mother, now if they're kind of dating, he may not act fruity. And I'm gonna keep on. These girls out here tell you these dudes are on the dolo. They're on the down low. They want to be treated like women.
Yeah, I like them.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
they act that way towards their children. They act like women, and the girls are acting mannish. And when I say mannish, I'm not saying masculine, like if a, like a lesbian woman. I'm not saying that. I'm saying mannish.
Mhm.
They trying to act like men, and
Okay.
yeah, to where you lesbian women like, oh, what the hell is she doing? Yeah, it's
I,
but
I
it's still
think I
it's still
have
this,
I
but still
think I have
this huh?
I have a I have a theory on that.
Mhm.
And I kind of mentioned that as well last week. I think the theory is because of the dynamic of the change in gender roles, and
Mhm.
also when you have broken homes,
Mhm.
and now you have a lot of women. Just correct me if you disagree. I'm okay if you disagree. When you have
Huh.
women solely raising children,
Mhm.
and especially when you have women raising men without male some type of male role model or male leadership or father figures in their life, you're gonna have a bunch of men who are emotional or who have feminine traits.
Mhm.
So now you have, remember how I always say, women, we base our decisions, we base decisions and we base our logic and how our thought processes is off of how we feel because we're nurturers.
Mhm.
So, and men are more logical. You can give that different perspective. Like you guys come from a logical standpoint, I come from an emotional standpoint. I'm okay with that.
Right.
So just imagine what this had, what this raises when you have women who are raising boys to be men. So not to say that they may not be into guys, but they are just very emotional and they have those feminine qualities because this is all they be around. And a lot of times you have young boys that are always around mom, grandmom, auntie, all of these things. You have a lot of absent men in a lot of these children's lives. So I think that's what we're seeing now is the product of those broken homes and those changes in gender roles. So now you see women who were raised by women who had to be strong, who had to be prideful. So now they're saying, okay, I got to be the backbone. I got to hold this down. I got to do that. And now you have women who feel like I gotta stand up, I gotta do this. So now they come in real authoritative. Whereas though you have the boys, it's like I don't feel this way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it gives you that
Mhm.
I don't know.
I know what you're talking about. I agree to a point. Um, like my daughter, their kid's father, and if he's listening, he's gonna be mad at me. But let's just keep it 100. He was sometiming. So my daughter basically raised her boys. She got two boys, two girls. Um, Her oldest son, he's 100% man. youngest son, he's 15 now. He's he's been acting like a man since he was in diapers. So she raised men, and I've seen other women who had absent men in the family in the household. They raised their boys to be men. Um, but I think with this shift in society, where they're trying to, change these gender roles, because I've seen a lot of guys now who I knew were masculine. They got this feminine mentality now, because they always say, "Well, I don't have to be this. I don't have to be that." That's why and my mother raised me, and I got had two of them. My older brother passed away, but she raised three boys and a girl, and we're all men. So I think it's just, but I think in today's society where they have it where they try to break these gender roles, where you don't have to be, because I hear let me tell you, here in Asheville is a very progressive thing, and I know people are gonna say, "Oh, you're homophobic," but I'm gonna keep it 100. It's not about homophobia. It's very LGBTQ here,
Mhm.
very. It's to the point to where if you say you're heterosexual, you're kind of like ostracized, and I'm keeping it 100. I'm being one, and I'm not just, yeah. You can't say you can't say I'm heterosexual. They be like, "What?" That's how it is. It's real gangster here when it comes to LGBTQ. And we're here, a lot of these boys are really going for it. Like, well, I don't have to be that because of this, and they're going for that. Because I see a lot of these black boys with the rainbow, claim their heart. They claim, but on the low low, I'm like, okay, it's cool to wear it, but if that's how you are, keep it 100. Don't front. But see, they be front, and it's real. It's crazy here. A lot of guys feel like they don't have to be masculine, and these are guys who I knew, even some in the 30s. These are guys who I knew who are, you know, high testosterone, hair on the chest men. They've really switched over,
Mhm.
and so I think it's society has put this influence on them that they don't have to be. Because you hear it in the news, and like I said, I'm not being homophobic. I'm really not. But it's there. You see it on TV. It's can't no one say no, no, no. It's there. It's happening. Society is telling you you don't have to be this man, and a lot of women are being more masculine because these guys are not being men. Let's just keep it 100. They're not being men,
So can I
and
ask you a question?
yeah,
I'm sorry to cut you off.
no, no,
So,
that was it.
um, with that, I understand that, but something that I've noticed, me and a friend of mine, we had this conversation a lot about the dynamics of how we teach, parent, and how we come together as a collective, against other cultures. You'll see other cultures. You'll even see, even if the mom is there, they instill certain things.
Mm-hmm,
So when we talk about gender roles, we talk about certain things of the family structure in the home.
mm-hmm.
We don't do a lot of teaching. We don't
Nope,
do a lot of, anymore. We don't do a lot of certain things.
we
So
don't.
when I talk about the gender roles, I think is very different. But I've noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong, when it comes to us
Mm-hmm.
as a people, without blaming anybody else, I feel like we got to take ownership, because somewhere along the line we lost that niche of I don't want to say self-preservation, but
Yeah, self preservation.
of our value, and
Yep.
we don't instill that into each other. So we speak a lot about what other people do to us,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't speak a lot about what we do to ourselves. We
Exactly.
don't. At one point in time, we had businesses in our communities. We allowed other cultures, other races to infiltrate our communities. Um, and you see like the bulletproof glass, you see all of these things. They want to have very minimal contact, but they want our dollar. We don't even have a black dollar at this day and time. So that's the conversation that I wanted to have. So I think sometimes when it comes down to the overall thing of us, part of the family structure was learning. You learn some things. Like even when I was with daddy, that's why I said certain things men have in the home that women just don't have. Like even though like daddy, my cousins and all of them, they might have spoiled me. You get what I mean? But they were stern with me in certain ways that I could only get that from that male. Whereas though the women, they were hard on me, but they nurtured me in a way that I knew, okay, this is where I needed to be soft. This is where I needed to be vulnerable. But then daddy and them be like, don't you come over here with that shit. I mean, so it was like,
Yeah.
okay, I can be baby girl, but you know what I mean? It's that balance. And I think in our communities, what we're missing is that balance of the structure of what the home should be, of what our community should be. So when I talk about holding ourselves accountable, we lost a lot of that. So when I say when you leave one gender or one person to do the full raising, without bringing up the government, where did we lose that?
Truthfully, and the comments I'm about to make are strictly of me, Idris Salam, and Radio Casual Convo Show. We wanted to be like white people. We wanted to set our standard by their standard. That's why we got whataboutism. Well, what about them? Well, what about them? And what about them? What about them? We have our own structure. We can't live the life, and this is not racist. It's a fact. We can't live our life like them because we don't have that privilege. We can't walk into a store and do this and say, "Yeah, I want this," and demand it without the police getting called. We can't do that. And see, and this speaking for us men, especially as older men, this is what the response we get from this younger generation when we try to instill this into them. This is what they say. Oh, that's old man energy. That's what they call it. They don't want to hear it from us. I don't know how they do it to women, but that's what they say with us. This old man energy. We
Same.
want to be okay. We want to be like them. We want to be treated like them. We can't do that. And like with the stores, like that's why I posted up there why you never see a Chinese a commercial for a Chinese,
Commercial.
yeah, Chinese commercial. They don't put, okay, look at Chinatown. No matter where you go in the country, they own their shit. Any Chinatown you go, San
Hmm.
Francisco, LA, New York, they own their that's their shit. And
Hmm.
you can't put a black store in their neighborhood in Chinatown. You can't put a white store in there.
Not even
You
a
can't
little
put
Italy.
you
Nope.
can't no Italy. You can't Greek era. You cannot do it. But in the
Not
black
even in
neighborhood,
Latino area. They got that.
no. But in the black neighborhood, you could put a whatever you want because we allow it. Because see, I had a friend named Pete Hawkins, rest in peace. He had a store in our neighborhood. We all grew up together. Well, he was older than he's like maybe 7 years older than us. But I used to hang with his little brothers. He saved his money, got a loan, opened a candy store. Guess what happened? Black people broke into it.
Oh my
Chinese
God. I
Korean
just said
guy
the
opened the
same
store
thing
in
to
the same.
somebody.
A Korean guy opened the store in the same building. Now, this is in 1981, 1980, 81. When I went back to New York in 2017, that Korean store was still there.
You just took me back. I just literally, oh my God, this is like deja vu. I literally just had this conversation with someone a couple of, not even, probably like 2 days ago. Um, we were like in a car and you know how like a lot of businesses close early because in certain
Mhm.
neighborhoods it's a little dangerous. So it's like the person was like, well, why put the businesses in our areas if you don't want to, I guess contribute to our people or you feel unsafe. And I said, but you got to also understand we do this to ourselves.
We do it
You
ourselves.
get what I mean? Because when we have black businesses or people who want to rebuild the community, contribute to the community, we will target each other before we target somebody else.
Right.
So at the same time, you also got to understand nobody wants to lose their life trying to help other people who don't want the help or who don't respect what you're trying to do and take heed and build. See, I think it comes a point where we got to understand the reality of the mindset of where we are. And the reality,
Let me keep talking, but let me add something. But see, the thing about it, it's not. It's Black Americans because you can't go to a Jamaican neighborhood. It's Black Americans. But keep on talking.
yeah, that's what I meant. Like us as a people in our community, like we destroy our own, but we won't go somewhere else with that same thing. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like we will self destruct and then
Right.
point a finger at somebody else. I guess which way I was the point that I was trying to make earlier,
Right.
but I think my delivery was very wrong, and I apologize for that.
You
But I
good?
think we will take and destroy our own, destroy what we can build, destroy our what can be great. Like look at our communities, we'll trash it, but then we'll go to another community and use the trash can. So there was a point in time where we would clean our neighborhoods, where we took pride in our neighborhoods and what we did have,
Hmm.
and now we don't. You'll trash your own, rob your own, steal from your own,
Hmm.
and do all of these things, but you won't do this into another neighborhood, but you will tear your own down, which is the mentality. So it's kind of like, and the thing that I said to the person is, how do we get the respect back? So you can't blame other people for setting up shop where we live. It's just like the game. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like if you can have a business and do this stuff on your corners instead of destructing your business, just imagine if you took that same mindset and opened up a business. If you took that
Yeah.
same mindset and instilled into these children and did all of these things without going back and talking about what somebody not giving you or what somebody trying to separate, instead of going against it, we went along with the narrative that was put forth. Because it's like if you keep on putting something in front of somebody's face, like a kid, keep on putting a piece of candy in their face, they're gonna do what? Take it. No matter how much
Yep.
you say you better not touch that candy, you keep
Hmm.
putting another piece and another piece and another piece, you gonna do it. You keep putting drugs right here, you keep putting drugs right here, you keep putting drugs right here, a liquor store right here, a liquor store right here. That's what's gonna happen. You're gonna end up going in that store. You're gonna end up picking up that pack. You're gonna end up sniffing that coke, shooting the dope.
That's
And it
why I
gets to the
said.
point where we're like, okay, this where the money at. We gonna do that, not realizing
Hmm.
the mindset. And I said, a hustler and junkies are some of the smartest hustlers, business minded people out here
Yeah.
because they know how to get it. So just imagine if they took that and put it back. So I say that to say, when it comes to our homes and our community, it's the same freaking thing.
That's playing.
Communication, building, understand. Even if it don't work, okay, how do we still say make it a unit for this person? And then somebody has said to me, the home is not broken unless the couple is completely splitting out of the home.
I disagree.
But the home can still be broken if there's still you can be in a home and still be distant.
You know what? I disagree with that statement because, like I said, me and I was talking about my youngest daughter's mother because when we split, well, we never lived together. She would stay at my house some nights. I stay at her house. When we broke up, you know what? We had a little out for maybe a couple of months. We sat down. We met at the airport one day because that's where she stayed in one city. I stayed in another city, but the airport was like at the border. We would meet there. I get my daughter, da 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 da, and we talked it out. And we got along. My daughter's 19 now, so we talking. I don't know how many, 18 years and a few months. We've got along like we were together because we said, look, we got a child together. We got to get along, and we got along. What you laughing? Oh, never mind. Never mind. Never mind. That's our inside joke. But we got along, and see, it goes back to the having our businesses. We need to put that mindset in taking care of our own the same way we need to put it back in the home because we need to stop being selfish. Think about if we just take the time and say, think about the other person. Okay, how would you want it done? Maybe that's how that person do it, and that other person say, well, how would they want it to? Say, okay, we need to come to a conclusion. And another thing we got to stop doing is, like I said, we was talking about the government. Leave them out of it. Leave the government out of it. Leave them out of it. They ain't got nothing. They don't even like us anyway. So if they can, like Tank said, Black violence is not the threat. Black love is. And the
Yep.
government will try to break us up the best they can and say, okay, look, you know what we do? If we split them two up, we're good. Because they're not gonna like each other. They don't want to talk to each other. The kids gonna know what the hell wanna know what the hell's going on. And we they've done our job for us. We need to keep them out of it. Keep them out of it. So
So, question for you:
mhm,
if you could be like the magical person
mhm,
to bring all of this, like, togetherness and get everything back on one accord,
mhm.
even though we know things take time, what do you think needs to happen?
One thing I get rid of social media. But I know I
You
can't
had a feeling you was gonna say that.
I get rid of social media. But now for the real, if I had to do one thing, I would make us all realize that we can't let outside influences um determine what we think. And I'm gonna say that because guys these days listen to the rappers. Females these days listen to the rappers. Cardi B, and I'm gonna keep taking Cardi B, Nicki, and Lizzo. I get them their props, their success. The same with the rappers like Lil Durk. Success. I have nothing against them getting their mail. Get your money, get
Mhm.
your fame, feed your family, be happy. I'm proud of you. Do your thing. I may not like your music, but I wish you more success than what you have. But the problem is we listen to these rich people tell us how to do our lives. Beyonce,
Mhm.
married. Cardi B, married. Nicki,
Mhm.
married. Lil Durk, married. All are married. They say, forget that bitch, forget that hoe, forget that nigga, da 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 da. But you know what? At the end of the day, they go home. But we remember what Cardi B said about blah 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 blah. Remember what Lil Durk said blah 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 blah. Remember what Nicki Minaj said da 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 da. Remember what little Doodoo said da 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 da.
Mhm.
And that's what we do. We let outside influences affect us when we need to sit down and say, hey, look, we're adults. Let's talk this out. Let's go out to eat and let's talk this out. And
I
that's something
agree.
we don't do. That's something we don't do. We don't go out. Let's go out to eat. Let's take the family, go out to eat. Let's enjoy the night. Oh, let's get somebody watch the kids and we go out. No, let's not go turn up. Let's not go to the club. Let's go to
Mhm.
Applebee's or somewhere. Let's go out to eat. Talk about this. Bam. You know?
I'm mad Applebee's took away the steak salad. That little pesto steak salad was good.
Man, that thing was banging.
Man, they took it off the menu here. I was so
Man,
upset.
that thing was that thing was
I'm like,
that thing was
no.
crazy good. But see, that's what we need to do. We need to take each other out. Look, let me take you out. Let's go out to eat and let's talk. You know, let's have a have a and that's it. Because then you're in public place, you're in a nice ambiance and everything. Let's talk it out. You know, let's get back to basics and stop thinking because this is a new age, it's not going to work. Sometimes you got to go back to the beginning, start all over, go back from square one. What kept your parents together? What kept your grandparents together? Look at the people in the 60s and the 70s with the businesses. We were thriving. What happened? We wanted to be like them. And this is not a diss towards white folks. Let me get that out there. I'm just saying, we as black people can't be like y'all because we're judged to a higher standard. No matter what
Man,
we
we
do,
don't.
we are judged to a higher standard. So we have to set our standard. Say, look, this is us. You can't raise a white kid. You can't raise a black kid like you'll raise a white kid, and vice versa. Can't do it.
DNA
Especially if
more
you
different.
one lives in the hood, one lives in the suburban area. Different
Mhm.
environments. That's why you don't
And
see
even
black
if
kids.
you take, a black kid and put him into a suburban or middle class environment, still
Mhm.
same rules do not apply.
No, and the thing about it, um, I think if you took a black kid
More
from the
people
ghetto
like
and
on
put him in a Yeah, right.
I just
We
think
need
like that.
we need to have a show about that food. You know, a good food show. Uh, I think if you took a black kid and put him in, and I've seen it, you put a black kid from the hood, put him in a suburban area, I think he'll succeed. Because I've seen how if you put a white kid in a ghetto, he'll go down. He'll forget. Because you see how white kids come to our neighborhoods anyway, and just and they turn straight ghetto. But you put a black, I've seen black kids go to white or suburban neighborhoods, and they're what you call new niggas. I'm not lying though.
I told you, did I tell you? I seen it when it said Mike White. I said, "Up here you go." Listen, I just
Yeah, we
want
need
to
to
add to that.
Yeah.
Mike, you missed the damn whole show. I'm upset with you for that.
Oh, Mike coming
Um,
at the end.
Mike missed all of this stuff. But I'm glad he's not here because my rant might have been on a little bit, popping a little bit more. But how I think we could probably get back to the unit. I got a couple of things I wanted to touch on. Like I said, sometimes the homes are broken before the split. I say that because a lot of times there are signs that we don't pay attention to when we're all under one roof. And that could be down to the communication, that could be down to neglecting our home, not spending time, not doing all of these things. So I think sometimes we got to pay attention and be mindful that our families are important. I also think, I know everybody gonna be like, here she go.
I rant on.
When it's when you notice, I think sometimes we can sense when something is off, and
Yeah.
we ignore. We be mindful. Stop ignoring the signs that there's trouble, that there's problems. Ain't nobody doing poly, Mike. Sit down. Um,
I'm good with
I
one.
was trying to.
I'm good with
So I think it's important to also consider um family counseling, individual therapy if it's some things going on with you. If you just can't figure out how to get back right. If it's something going on with you and your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your wife, your husband, couples counseling helps. It's not nothing to do with medication, but sometimes I think an outside mediator, not a friend, not a family member,
right.
or anybody like that, somebody who's skilled and maybe getting you guys back to you, because there's so many different methods, like maybe trying dating again, because a lot of times we lose that when we get comfortable in our relationships. We don't date, we don't look into spending time being being spontaneous, or even like Bosco mentioned, alleviating social media, which also I think sometimes, even if it's dinner time, not having cell phones out,
Right.
taking a break from everything electronic and just spending that time to talk to one another, to be there, or even if it's asking, how was your day? And
Right.
I noticed, um, like I have friends, and sometimes I be like, "Well, did you even ask him how his day was?" And they like, "What?" And it's crazy because that small thing can mean so much.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you just never know. You just asking how a person is can go a long way. I think sometimes we got to be more personable, more relatable, more caring to
Hmm.
our home,
Hmm.
and making sure our home is okay before we make sure everything else is okay,
Hmm.
and just really getting back to family and
Hmm.
understanding the value of each other and what we mean to each other, because when that's broken it affects our children behaviors of kids suffer. They start acting out in school, they start acting out in the environment, and we see the product of what happens from broken homes. When we look at our crime rate, we look at how kids don't care because they don't have
Hmm.
a family dynamic and they don't have a family structure, something solid, something beneficial, something solid. Whereas though it's like I stand for something, I mean something to somebody. If you don't mean anything in your home life, you damn sure don't give a fuck about. I'm sorry, you don't care about what you mean to the streets,
Hmm. I
but
agree.
the streets will humble you. So now we
You know.
got a lot of people who are being humbled by the streets or by, as you guys would say, the government,
Mhm.
because that's
You,
now who's disciplining our children, and
you
that's
know.
by in prison, by being locked up and being put in prison, which is also building their business, because prison is a business. Let's keep our kids out of there and just do something else and really rebuild our communities and look into our communities for the better. That's what I
Yeah.
think.
I agree.
That was
wholeheartedly,
powerful.
100%. Also,
Um,
to add, I think if you're not in a relationship right now, take the time to analyze yourself. Don't
period.
sit there and say stuff like, "Well, he didn't." No, analyze yourself, and don't say, "Well, next time I get a man, I'm gonna do da." No, analyze what you did wrong and say, "Okay, I need to fix this." Because I know deep down, those who blame also say to themselves, "Yeah, but I did do this," but they won't say it out loud. Say it to yourself, "I screwed up. I ran out."
Mhm.
And don't get on. And I will keep saying social media. I know we got to go. Keep saying, don't go on social media trying to co-sign anything. Like me, um, I've been out of a relationship for a while, for a good while. But I say to myself, okay, next time I can't. I always say I can't do this. I can't do that. I have to be more blah 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 blah. I say it to myself all the time, just to remind myself.
I'm sorry, I just read my comment. And Mike, I agree with you.
Yeah,
Let them people, y'all let them people get y'all scared to spank your kids.
my
You
daughter
know
will.
how to spank your kid up.
My daughter, 34 years old. Her oldest son, 18. She will still grab that nigga. Like, look here. Mm-mm. None of my kids play that. My son, he ain't even got to say nothing. He'd be like, just give him that look. He called his oldest son boy. He like, boy. When he hear that, that's it. Oh,
Yeah.
trust me, we ain't never stopped spanking. My son will be like, come here, I got something for you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
we do need to do a foodie show. Then we don't went over again. Man.
yeah, we great ended. But this was a really good conversation. We might have to bring this back at some point in
Yeah.
time.
Oh yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
but we thank you guys for tuning in to the live. We always welcome all the comments, the
Mm-hmm.
people listening on Hand Radio. If you haven't done so, download the Hand Radio app. If you have a Roku TV or your cell phone, you can download Hand TV. You can also watch us live there. Of course, for those of you who watch on Facebook Live, we love you. Thank you guys for commenting. Lamont, thank you so much for calling in. Um, we'll
Follow
see you
you on
guys next
Instagram.
week. I think what I got, I forgot what I'm talking about next week,
Follow you
but
on
I will be
Instagram.
posting it. Huh?
Follow you on Instagram.
Follow me on Instagram, Casual Convo Coco. You can also follow on Instagram, The Mixed Magician.
Magician.
Also,
Yeah.
you got me on YouTube now.
Yes, sir.
So I will be posting shows. And you can watch all the prior shows. If you missed anything, you can go to Casual Convo Coco on YouTube and see all the past shows. Like, comment, and please subscribe.
Oh, I gotta say something too. My Twitter account, Big Boscoe Productions. I'll be adding clips to the show in the next few weeks. So tune in. It'll be strictly this. Da, 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 da. Yeah, we trying to do it big. So Big
And
Bosco Productions on Twitter. You'll see clips so you can see what we do.
and I'm also on TikTok. I will be posting soon. So that's Casual Convo Coco on TikTok as well.
Big Bosco
So follow
Productions.
me.
Yep.
So we will see you guys next week, 8 o'clock on Ham Radio. Or again, you can watch us live. Please tune in. We will see you guys. We got some good stuff coming up. Thank you guys. We love you.
We're
See you
out.
next week.